Have you ever wondered what makes a game good? Not just fun or flashy. Why do some people thrive on the punishment of Souls-likes, others on the adrenaline of looter shooters? What is it that really lights us up about certain games? In this multi-part series, I want to explore what makes games really good. Let's dive deep into mechanics, world building, identity, and the stuff that really pulls it all together. At the core of every game is gameplay, no surprise there. But when we talk about gameplay mechanics, we're not just talking about buttons or movement. We're talking about complex systems, interlocking, repeatable actions that create a loop of player engagement. These loops are the beating heart of game design. They give the player structure, pacing, and purpose. It's the main reason you're playing any game at all. A core gameplay loop is the smallest unit of repeatable behavior that delivers satisfaction. It's what you do every 30 seconds, every minute, every 5 minutes, and it's what keeps you coming back again and again. Games live or die by how tight, rewarding, and scalable that loop is. Some of the earliest video games centered around level-based gameplay, where the core gameplay involved short, repeatable sequences with clear goals, escalating difficulty, and mastery through repetition. Early arcade and platform games are still iconic, like Donkey Kong, Super Mario Bros., Mega Man, Metroid, and Sonic the Hedgehog. They didn't rely on complex systems or open worlds. The idea was simple and effective. Start the level, survive its challenges, move on to the next. Every stage was a new obstacle course, a test of timing, reflexes, and pattern recognition. They weren't designed to evolve. They were designed to be mastered, and that simplicity made them timeless. Their appeal isn't building stats or unlocking gear. It's in how well you can execute each level. These titles spawned countless arcade-style games, and platformers remain one of the most popular gameplay types today. It's a reminder that some of the best gameplay doesn't need to be complicated, but alongside level-based games, other gameplay structures were taking shape. One of the earliest and arguably most addictive loop types, the run-based loop. These are games where you start a new run or session from scratch. The core idea is that you dive in, give it your best shot, and when you die or finish, you do it all over again. The fun isn't just in winning, it's in the iteration. These games thrive on variety, randomness, and player adaptation. No two runs feel the same. One of the earliest examples of this gameplay is the 1980s Rogue, a game where you explore procedurally generated dungeons, gather loot, fight monsters, and try to survive as long as possible. But when you die, you lose everything and start fresh. That cycle of constant runs, learning, and incremental mastery laid the foundation for the entire run-based loop genre. The best known example today? The indie game Hades. You start in the underworld, hack and slash your way through randomized chambers, pick up boons, and try to escape. You probably won't the first time, but each attempt gives you new upgrades, more lore, and deeper mechanical knowledge. Importantly, each layer of that loop feeds into the others. The moment-to-moment gameplay satisfies your action response craving, the run-based structure satisfies your strategic mind, and the persistent upgrades give you a longer arc of growth and payoff. The massively popular Diablo series runs on this structure, with its randomized loot drops and dungeon layouts to encourage grind-driven combat sessions, where the goal is to kill, loot, and upgrade in increasingly intense bursts. Even popular games like Fortnite and Apex Legends incorporate a battle royale run-based loop. Drop in, loot, fight, build, die, repeat. The loop is short, satisfying, and endlessly repeatable. Contrast that with the more tactical combat action loop of Halo Combat Evolved, which arguably created the blueprint for modern shooter loops. Bungie's philosophy was famously about 30 seconds of fun, a cyclical rhythm of shoot, melee, grenade, reposition. What's genius here is how every system in-game reinforces that loop. Enemies react predictably but dynamically. Weapons have defined roles. Sandbox level designs allow multiple approaches to the same encounter. It's not just about the mechanics. It's about how those mechanics create emergent agency. The player is always reacting, improvising, mastering. That's the loop doing its job. This kind of moment-to-moment tactical action loop is found in a ton of legendary games. Think Doom 2016 with its glory kill system that keeps the player moving forward. Titanfall 2 with its momentum-based gunplay. Resident Evil 4, where the shoot, stagger, crowd control, reposition rhythm is a loop so good it became a genre-defining blueprint. Even a game like Monster Hunter fits here, where the combat loop is slower and more deliberate, but no less satisfying. Not every game hooks you with action, though. Some games lock you in by slowing you down and forcing you to think. This is where tactical and decision-making loops come in. These are games where the core engagement comes from assessing a situation, weighing your options, and executing a strategy. And the payoff comes not from reflexes, but from outsmarting the very game itself. Within this style is, of course, the obvious: tactical turn-based games. Think XCOM. Every turn is a puzzle. Do you take the shot? Do you reposition? Use your one grenade? These micro decisions matter. One wrong move can snowball into disaster. Or how about Final Fantasy Tactics? It's a masterclass in tactical depth and long-term planning. The loop here is slower, but very rich. Assess, decide, act, react, and learn. Now shift that loop into real time. In a game like StarCraft, you're managing resources, building units, scouting enemy positions, and micromanaging battles all at once. It's not about raw speed. The best players don't just click fast, they know what to click and when. In games like Age of Empires, the decisions you make in the first 5 minutes, where to send villagers, what to build, what to prioritize, echo through the entire match. You're constantly looping between macro strategy, micro tactics, and then adaptation. Even first-person shooters can become deeply tactical. In Rainbow Six Siege, you don't just shoot, you drone, you barricade, you coordinate with your team to execute synchronized plans. Every round feels like a mini heist. You plan your entry, scout your enemies, and then act with precision. And if you slip up, it's over in seconds. Counter-Strike is another prime example. While it's fast, it's also all about positioning, map control, and economy. It's chess, but with guns. This tactical thinking isn't limited to combat games. Sports games like FIFA or NBA 2K rely on tactical loops too, reading the field, timing your plays, and adapting to opponents. Strategic roster building in modes like Ultimate Team adds a deeper layer of long-term decision-making. In Civilization, every decision, where to settle, who to trade with, when to go to war, affects hundreds of turns down the line. It's long-form decision-making. You're not just managing a city, you're building history. And look at something like Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's a game about amusement park rides, yet every decision you make, from what to build, to ticket prices, food court options, to even trash can placements, becomes a meaningful tactical choice to maximize your capital gains. These games work because they give players control and consequences. You start to see patterns, anticipate outcomes, and make smarter plays. And when you win, it feels good because you earned it. But not every game has to be about reflexes or real-time combat. Sometimes the most satisfying gameplay comes from sitting back and solving a problem. Portal is pure puzzle loop brilliance. You enter a test chamber and are presented with a problem that seems impossible, but then you notice a small detail, and eventually it all clicks. Portal nails this feedback loop. Each puzzle teaches a new mechanic, reinforces what you've learned, and dares you to use it in new and creative ways. This loop of curiosity, experimentation, insight, reward is what keeps puzzle games compelling. The reward isn't the loot or the stats, it's the feeling of being smart. Even more traditional adventure games like Silent Hill or Resident Evil rely heavily on puzzle loops to break up combat and keep your brain engaged. Finding the correct key item, decoding an old map, solving a creepy riddle, these things don't just fill space between the action, they shift the pacing, deepen immersion, and make you feel like an actual participant in the world. But few games blend open world freedom and puzzle solving quite like Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. The game is packed with shrines, each one with a self-contained logic or physics-based puzzle. What makes them stand out is their flexibility. There's rarely a single correct solution. The game trusts players to experiment, to fail, to get creative. It's not just about solving puzzles, it's about discovering solutions that are unique to you. Breath of the Wild's entire world is designed as one giant puzzle box. Climbing, weather systems, everything works together in consistent, systemic ways. That moment you realize you can drop a metal weapon during a lightning storm to take out an enemy, that's a puzzle solved through logic, not instruction. It reinforces this loop of curiosity, experimentation, and insight, and it's woven directly into the game's exploration. Puzzle loops appeal to a different type of satisfaction, one that feels earned not because you beat a boss, but because you saw the world differently. Now, some games don't need to challenge your reflexes or your intellect. They just need to dangle the next shiny thing. And somehow, that's enough to keep us coming back for dozens of hours. Our brains thrive on challenge, growth. We crave feedback that says, hey, you're getting better. These games tap into something slower and more deliberate. the desire to grind, grow, and build. These are called progression loops, and they often center around leveling systems, unlockable gear, skill trees, reputation meters, or long term story goals. The player keeps coming back not necessarily because the core combat is tight, but because the promise of power, customization, or narrative resolution is just hours away. This is where progression and grind loops come in. At their core, progression loops are built on a simple exchange. Do something, get rewarded, use that reward to get stronger so you can do something better. It's a self-feeding machine. Again, think Diablo. You kill monsters to get loot. That loot makes you stronger. You kill harder monsters, get better loot. Repeat. The loop is pure dopamine, like a slot machine, but with swords. Or take Call of Duty's multiplayer. You play matches, gain XP, unlock new weapons or perks, and those unlocks help you perform better in the next match. It's a constant drip feed of reward. Even if you lose, you still make progress. This loop is simple, but it's so powerful because it gives players a reason to come back, even if the moment-to-moment gameplay is not changing much. It turns repetition into motivation. RPGs are a genre where the progression loop thrives. In games like Skyrim or Witcher 3, you start out incredibly weak, but as you level up, unlock new abilities, find better gear, the world bends to your power. You're constantly walking this loop. Find the dungeon, kill enemies, loot better gear, return to town, level up, and repeat. The systems interlock so cleanly that you barely notice the hours ticking by. Just one more side quest, one more cave. That grind isn't mechanical. It's narrative. You feel like you've gone from nobody to a hero. Games like Persona 5 or Final Fantasy VII Remake fit here. It's not just about gaining levels though. You're mastering characters or customizing builds. Genshin Impact and MMORPGs like Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, or World of Warcraft elevate this to a science, using daily quests and loot-based dungeons to create a never-ending treadmill of meaningful upgrades. And for a lot of players, that's the point. It's not about finishing, it's about the never-ending grind. You can even see progression loops in single-player open-world games like Horizon Zero Dawn or Cyberpunk 2077, where your loop is driven by unlocking new areas, upgrading skill trees, and pursuing that next story milestone or legendary weapon. These loops give the player ownership over their progression, and that control can be incredibly satisfying. Now, consider a game like Stardew Valley. It's a farming sim. No combat, no cutscenes, no adrenaline. But it still operates on a beautifully constructed progression loop. Wake up, plan your day, water crops, manage resources, talk to villagers, improve your land. It taps into the satisfaction of routine and progress. This loop is psychologically rewarding because it models long-term goals through short-term habits. You'll find similar routine to progression loops in games like Animal Crossing, The Sims, Harvest Moon, Terraria, Minecraft, or even Power Wash Simulator. Sandbox and simulation games aren't just about twitch reflexes. Instead, they thrive on giving players tools and systems rather than objectives. The gameplay loop emerges from your own goals and creativity. These games often lack a defined win condition. Instead, satisfaction comes from customization and expression. So while these loops might not be flashy, they're the backbone of countless beloved games. Now, not every progression loop is progress-based. Sometimes it's just about cosmetics or bragging rights. Fortnite, Overwatch, and Valorant thrive on this. You grind for skins, battle pass tiers, emotes. None of it changes how the game plays, but it changes how it feels. You get to express yourself, show off your status, and stand out. Even mobile games like Genshin Impact are built entirely around these systems. Timers, dailies, login rewards, they're not just gameplay, they're habit formation tools, and the grind becomes part of your routine. And sure, a lot of these games blur into Skinner box territory, the same psychological loops that drive slot machines. But the truth is, they work. And when paired with meaningful design, they can be addictive in the best way. Progression loops work because they tap into long-term motivation via perceived improvement. You're not just playing to win. You're playing to get better, to unlock, to complete. Bad grind loops, they stretch content, they waste your time, make you feel like you're working for nothing. Or even worse, they're intentionally designed to frustrate you. So you're more likely to spend real cash on progression upgrades. But good ones? There's a sense that with every step, you're actually making progress. What makes all of these vastly different games so effective is that they combine short term excitement with long term mastery. Across these wildly different genres, one thing is clear: the loop matters more than the genre, art style, or story, even. A game with a compelling loop can survive mediocre visuals, but a game with a weak loop can't be saved by cutscenes or loot drops. Developers throw in RPG systems, skill trees, crafting, quests, hoping complexity will create depth to mask where the loop fails. But if the base action of what the player is doing isn't meaningful or satisfying, all of these extra features just feel like chores. We've seen this in many failed games, such as Anthem, where flashy visuals and loot systems couldn't hide the fact that the basic loop just didn't deliver. Or Forspoken, where despite solid movement mechanics, the core loop of exploration and combat was too hollow to carry the experience. Even Assassin's Creed, a once deeply innovative series, has struggled in recent entries by bloating its loops with endless filler activities. So here's the first principle of great game design: the core loop is king. It doesn't need to be flashy. It just needs to be repeatable, meaningful, and able to support complexity without collapsing. Games that master this aren't just fun, they're compulsively playable. And often it's because the designers understood that engagement isn't about content volume, it's about rhythmic satisfaction. But there's a point where rhythm becomes immersion. You're not thinking about the mechanics anymore, you're just in it. And that's called flow state. And it's where gameplay loops transform into endless hours of fun. So in the next episode, we're going beyond the loop and diving into flow state, feel, pacing, and variety in video games. Because while loops are absolutely essential to make a great game, getting that loop right involves some serious fine tuning. If you made it this far, I want to thank you for watching, sincerely. This was my first video ever, and it was a huge undertaking, so I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.